Okay, it's good to see all your faces this morning. Good morning. And today we have Debra Aungst with us, who will be talking to us about membership retention. She's on the Membership Retention Task Force at SAI, and she has lots of information for us. Right now, I think that retention is something that's really important as far as our membership goes, to keep the members that we have, almost more important than getting new ones. So I'll turn it over to Debra.
Sure. Good morning. It sounds like we've got somebody that needs to be muted. I bet Cindy can find them. Thank you so much, Sharon, for letting me come and chat with our chapter leaders today. I've been looking forward to this meeting. As Sharon indicated, I'm the chair, actually, of the International Membership Retention Committee.
Hi there.
And,
I'm sorry, I silenced it.
oh my goodness gracious. There we go. Thank you, Cherie. All right, so I'm going to be asking you some questions. I've got a PowerPoint to share with you, and we're going to spend about the next half hour or so talking about membership retention. While I'm getting my PowerPoint set up, what I really want you to do is think about a couple of questions that I'm going to ask you here. Can you think back to a member of your chorus that just drifted away? They resigned at some point, and there doesn't seem to be any real hard feelings. They just one day weren't there anymore. Or can you think of another member that left your chorus under different circumstances? We're going to talk about those different kinds of exiting. So while I get my screen share up, there we go. Okay, can you see that? Yeah, I've got some thumbs up. Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, the Membership Retention Committee actually prepared a presentation that was designed to go out for the Global Open House this coming February. It is not going to go in the Global Open House, but we still have the presentation and we're using it with our regions. So I'm going to share this with you today. Today we're going to talk about two things: why do members stay, and what you can do to help them stay. But more importantly, I want you to think about this quote, because it really does speak to membership retention. Maya Angelou said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." So this presentation today is an opportunity to reflect on exactly those things. How members' feelings affect their satisfaction and affect their decisions about whether they are going to ultimately stay or leave. You know, everybody wants to belong. It is a basic human condition. It's a primal need. People want security and support and assistance and inclusion and identity. They want to be able to bring their authentic self to their environment. Belonging, you know, it's a crucial element of life satisfaction, happiness, mental and physical health, and longevity. And in fact, belonging is even on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's just above the psychological, physical, and safety needs. At the same time, while wanting to belong is universal, not everyone is the same. We are all pretty unique. We're wired differently. We have different cultural backgrounds. Our culture shapes our perspectives on things. We have different learning styles. We have different emotional experiences and different personalities. You know, there are positive feelings And when people feel positive, they are more inclined to want to do more of the things that make them feel good. So some of the positive feelings, let's think about some of those. Belonging, we just talked about. Feeling valued is slightly different. It's feeling appreciated for the role that you have in your chorus. No matter how small it might be, even a thank you can make someone feel a little bit more valued or appreciated. They want to know that their actions are noticed by people. They want to feel respected. I don't think these are anything different than what you want from your own chorus experience itself. They want to feel safe. They want to know that the environment that they're in is safe, both physically, but psychologically as well. So they're not being judged by other people. They want to know that they're being productive. Their time is valuable and it's being put to good use. So as we set goals and guidelines, we're making the best use of their time and letting them know that their time is valued, plus they get the feeling of accomplishment. They want to feel included. You know, it's kind of like belonging, but it feels different. It goes beyond rehearsal. It's where members feel they are a part of the group, whether it's in or outside of rehearsal. You know, approaching members or rehearsals with positive feelings creates more joy, more happiness, and your members feel like they have productive rehearsals. Can you imagine if that's the way all of your rehearsals went? Do you think it might impact their singing? Yeah, I think it might. So I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself and just shout out if you can think of other kinds of positive feelings that would contribute to a chorus member's wanting to stay with the chorus that hasn't been mentioned.
A sense of accomplishment.
A sense of accomplishment. Mm-hmm. What's that?
Fun.
I'm sorry, I can't understand.
Having fun.
Oh, having fun. Absolutely. Having fun.
Trusted.
I'm still having trouble hearing.
Okay. Trusted.
Trusted.
Yep.
Good. Yep. All right. Well, there are these and many more, but just like there are positive feelings, there are also some negative feelings that happen, not on purpose, but they happen. People feel undervalued, underappreciated, underutilized. They feel like I could do so much more, but no one even asks me, or I volunteered and they turned me down. I am undervalued. They might feel invisible. I'm not addressed or rarely addressed in rehearsal. No one reaches out if I miss rehearsal. People forget if I'm here. People don't chat with me after rehearsal. I can just fade out the door and no one would know. Or they might feel not heard. Their opinion is discounted or not even sought. They might feel avoided. Maybe there's a personality conflict or chorus drama or something like that, where they're just simply being avoided. And we know some folks in our choruses over our years that we would like to avoid sometimes because they are a little troublesome to be around some days. But they feel that when they're avoided. They might feel unimportant. The evidence just isn't there that the directors and leaders and the other members think that I'm an important part of this chorus. I can just hear someone saying that. Or they may even feel discriminated against. And these are very, very difficult situations. Sometimes the discrimination is overt, or they might be little microaggressions which add up. And rarely do the people who are showing those behaviors recognize that behavior. And as a leader, one of the things that we have to be vigilant about is observing those and making sure that we correct that so that the culture just doesn't tolerate those aggressions. You might remember that the DE&I task force put out a chorus toolkit. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, it's a wonderful tool. I would encourage you to do that. So if a member feels these periodically, heaven's sakes, I feel these periodically, but if they feel it for too long, unfortunately, it can just lead to a loss of that member from the chorus. Oftentimes, the cuts by 1,000 or the death by 1,000 cuts is what makes people fade away. Okay, just like we did with the positive feelings, unmute yourself and give yourself a half a second after you've unmuted to let the sound kick in. And then tell me what isn't on this list that came to your mind.
The look.
Burnout.
The look. Tell me more about the look.
Well, we all had a mom who gave us the look when we were in trouble. The glaring eyes. And right now, since most of us are wearing masks, it's the eyes that tell a lot. And you can say a lot about how you feel about somebody with your eyes, be it positive or negative, but the negative really shows up when you just kind of look at somebody like you didn't practice your music this week or whatever. You know, the look can be hurtful.
And the look can be really hurtful. As a leader, we tend to temper our own behaviors to not allow ourselves to do that. But sometimes the look can come from another member. Just like we were told to be off music and you're not off music, you know, that look that comes from another member. So as chorus leaders, we need to be vigilant to observe if that's creeping into our culture and try to arrest the development of that going forward. What other things aren't on this list? There was somebody else that came after that.
Well, Karen said burnout.
Burnout. We use the same people too much, too many times. We haven't got our workload distributed or balanced. I think that's a really, really, really good one.
Evelyn
So we
has her
know,
hand up.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Evelyn has her hand up.
I'm
Oh.
sorry. I'm having a hard time understanding it.
Evelyn had her hand up, but now she's muted, so.
Oh,
there
I
she
didn't,
goes.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, this is modern times, and I don't know about other courses, but we're insisting that people be vaccinated to come to chorus. And we have a few members that are not vaccinated, and I think we're going to lose them. Well, we've already lost one of them. So I don't know if we can do anything about that, but it's reality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that you are right. I think that is going to be happening. And let's hope that those losses are losses for a while, but not permanent. Because pandemic won't last forever. So how we have usher people out who make choices that we're not able to accept, and how we treat them during that makes a huge impact about whether they feel like they will be welcomed back once the pandemic is over, or whether they will always be perceived as a pariah. So those are really, really important observations. Okay, I'm going to go on. What we know is actions speak louder than words. We've been talking about feelings. And so far, we're not even talking about the words, but now we're going to talk about actions. And remember, these are actions that come from both leaders and from other chorus members. So somebody asks my opinion. What do you think people will feel? That would be something that people would feel positive about. My opinion is authentically wanted. I get a personal PVI. They're willing to spend time with me to help me improve my craft. I'm worth the time. Oh, somebody said thank you to me. That makes a huge difference. Even though all I did was something little, I know that my efforts are being seen, and because I can hear the words of gratitude. Or someone authentically compliments me. It might only be complimenting my efforts, even not my accomplishments, but my efforts. And that means somebody is seeing me. Another action is follow through. So maybe checking in after an event or following up with some information from a question that was asked. People do what they say they're going to do. Even if it's not in the moment, they eventually follow up. Or they communicate in a timely manner, whether it's regularly scheduled or weekly or monthly or even ad hoc. But when it's needed, communication happens. They show appreciation for all of the members, both personally, privately, and also in public. Have you ever noticed that when you're in a group and someone else is receiving comments, appreciating their work, even as an observer, it makes you feel good that your environment, your culture is recognizing people's good work. So there are rub-off effects, even though the individual isn't receiving the appreciation comments themselves. So these might be things that are in the moment, or they might be an email or a phone call, or even, do we do handwritten notes anymore? I guess we must. For a task that they performed or a skill achieved or a help in a moment. Not just the big things, but the little things too. The director says, thank you for spending your evening at rehearsal, or thanks for doing your homework. I can hear the improvement. Or thanks for attending to that challenging phrase. Thank you for responding to the survey on time. It could be simple. They can be early and often, but make it part of the culture and your regular habits. It has to be genuine. It can't be forced. Even offers to help somebody, whether it's musical related, logistical like carpooling, or teaching somebody a skill, or even making a social connection. All of those things count. So these have been all positive actions that leaders can take that contribute to a positive culture. I want to take 30 seconds and ask you now to reflect with a pencil and paper, write down some of what thoughts that were triggered in this section of actions that maybe you haven't been doing, but you would like to think about incorporating in the future. So take about 30 seconds. Okay, I'll let you finish that up and we'll continue on with a different kind of list. You know, sometimes we do things that we don't even realize that we're doing, but they have a negative result in how people feel. So things like micromanaging. Don't you trust me to do it right? You know, have you ever been asked to do something and then not only did you do it and submit it and turn it in, but then you just turn around and watch somebody else redo all of your work? Well, I guess I'm just not needed. That was a waste of time and a waste of effort. There are many ways to respond to something like that. Some of them can be very negative and some can be a little less so. Or I'm asked to do a project, but my work was never used. This is very similar to the micromanaging. Or something like, I'm asked to come prepared to sing a song at the next rehearsal, and then we never sang that song. I mean, I worked hard, and now you're working on something I didn't even work on. What a waste of my time this past week. My time is valuable too, but clearly you don't appreciate that. It can be a feeling that someone might have. Or you don't respond in a timely manner. That makes people feel unimportant, or they just don't feel valued. You know, they're an afterthought for somebody. As leaders, we need to step outside of our roles and look at how our actions could be perceived by others and how to react differently in these kinds of situations. Have you ever done something unwittingly and certainly not intended to be causing negative feelings, that after the fact you thought, oh, I probably could have handled that a little bit differently? It's those kinds of things that in the moment you don't recognize. But when they accumulate over time, because you don't have any positive things in the bank to draw on, those are the kinds of things that get under people's skin. Well, you know, small things count. And sometimes we just need to remember. It's easy to forget several things. So one of those things might be planning engaging rehearsals. And as directors and chorus chapter leaders, we always think about those things. But did we think about making sure that the rehearsal is communicated ahead of time? It has a variety. There are pauses so people have an opportunity to work hard, rest for a second, work hard again. Is there laughter? Does it feed the mind, the body, and the spirit? Engaging rehearsals do that. Or utilizing and honoring each member's talents. You know, I have a philosophy that every single member of our chorus deserves the right to make a contribution. They deserve the right to have a job. It doesn't always have to be big. It can be very small, but a way to contribute back. When you contribute to something, you feel invested and you feel a part of. You're in the group. Make sure that you find the talents of every single member and find a way to put those to good use. Remember to plan for the future. Make sure you have a clear vision of where the chorus is going, and make sure that you communicate those. Make sure everybody understands where the ship is headed. Obviously, we need to avoid gossip or side comments. Those are simply, they should be dead on arrival. But sometimes we don't even realize we're gossiping. We make a side comment to someone, which just between the two of us would probably be okay, but there are ears around. Oftentimes I think if you've got something to say that shouldn't be overheard by others, don't say it, especially in your chorus environment. It's just not good. You wouldn't want people saying those things behind your back. And ultimately, these kinds of things do get heard because the person who heard that conversation tells the next person that didn't realize that this person was overhearing, and it just goes around and around and around, and eventually people do find out. You know, don't forget to find out why members are disengaged. Have you ever thought about, you know, that person I asked you about at the beginning of this presentation, that person who just kind of drifted away, they become disengaged. And if you were really observant, you would notice it happening over time. Nothing huge. They just get disengaged. They're not participating in the way they normally do. They might not turn out, it might not even be about chorus, but they become disengaged. It's important to check in with people, find out if they're okay, if there's something you can do to help. Open the opportunity for conversation. Don't forget to include the care and feeding of members as a part of your weekly planning. This has to be a purposeful thought. I am thinking ahead of time about how I'm going to include care and feeding of members every single week. Lots of ways to do that. And many of you could give us lessons on how to do this. You're very good at it. Don't forget to proactively establish a culture of belonging. I like to think that this is probably the most important of all these little pebbles. You know, this is where you decide the kind of chorus that you want to be. You decide what the culture is that you want. And then you purposefully plan to not only build it and develop it, but to nurture and grow it. If you fail to attend to this issue, your culture can gradually dissipate without you even noticing until it's at a point that it is a mountain of work to pull your chorus back together. So this is number one in my book. You know, they are cumulative. All of these little things in and of themselves aren't huge. But, you know, as a member of the Membership Retention Committee, I have the privilege of hearing lots and lots and lots of stories. The Membership Retention Committee connects with every single member who leaves the organization. We always invite them to give us feedback. And what we have found over the years is these little pebbles cause big problems. And that's why people leave. Okay, well, we've talked about lots of things. I'm going to give you a second here in just a second to chat. But I just wanted to give you a brief review. Remember, we started this class by saying, why do members leave? And what can you do to help them stay? So you remember that we talked about people wanting, needing to feel like they belong, that they feel valued. We learned that how members feel generally drive their decision to either stay or to leave. You heard about positive feelings that help members want to stay, things like feeling valued or appreciated or respected. And you heard about some of the negative feelings that contribute to members' dissatisfaction. So feeling invisible, not heard, or even discriminated against. Now, all of these are general, and your situation is unique, and every member is unique. So you might want to think about how all of these things apply in your situation. We also learned about a few things that you can do to help people want to stay. We looked at actions that contribute to feelings of satisfaction, such as expressions of gratitude, follow through, and timely communications. We also looked at some actions that contribute to feelings of dissatisfaction, micromanagement, not using someone's contributions, lack of follow through. And we looked at the compounding effect of members' feelings over time that ultimately affect a member's decision to stay or to leave. So we now know that small things count and they are cumulative. Things like having engaging rehearsals, planning for and communicating about the future, finding out why someone's disengaged, and most importantly, setting, building, and growing a positive chorus culture. All right, I'm going to open this up so I can see all of your beautiful faces. I'm going to ask you to think back to the one thing that we covered that really resonated with you, that might spur you to actually take some action. And not only your personal action, but maybe something that you would be sharing with your management team or board of directors. Okay. Who's got something that resonated with them?
I think that it's important that members know that they're needed for more than just their voice, that they're needed for other things to help the chorus grow or to stay together. I think that's important.
Yeah. Cool.
And also the action speaks louder than words. For myself, I'm speaking for myself here. Getting a note from someone in the mail means a lot more to me than for them just to walk up to me and say, thanks for doing this or thanks for doing that. Because they took the time to write that note, put it in an envelope, dress it, stamp it, and put it in the mailbox. So that took a lot of effort on their part, more than just walking up to you and saying thanks.
Yes. Good. Sally.
This came from my personal experience with the chorus, where I would come to sing, and people wouldn't really welcome. I mean, not that I felt unwelcome, but no one made a point to speak to me necessarily. So I would do my singing and I would go home, and that's what rehearsal was to me. I sing and I go home. And so I'm not in that chorus anymore for a couple of reasons, but what I try to do every week now in my own chorus is go up to each person and say hello, how are you, welcome them, just to show them that I notice they're there, so it's a little thing, but that's something that matters to me. So I thought, if it matters to me, maybe it matters to somebody else.
You were probably one of those gradually disengaging members.
Well, I would say that's true. That's true. I didn't feel connected, and that is so important.
I think connected is a really good word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Beth Ann.
You said something. We tend to, when we're planning our rehearsals, we make the agenda longer than it ever is. And so the point about singing the songs that you say you're going to sing and honoring the time that people took to prepare for the rehearsal is something I hadn't thought about. So that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually have had directors say, these are the 3 songs that we're absolutely going to work on. And if we can have a little extra time, we're going to work on this one too. So it gives me a priority about where to spend my time. Yeah, I think that's a really good one, Beth Ann. Anybody else?
So one of the things that really stood out to me is kind of building on what Sally just said also, but there are people that are the shy people that and that don't seem to have their kind of crowd. I mean, for people like me who are outgoing, you know, I could do a better effort at reaching out to those people that are not really the chatty ones, you know, like at the beginning of chorus. So it's just kind of a good reminder that, you know, people come from all different, you know, varieties of the comfort level with talking with other people. And we do need to make a point to reach out to those that are a little bit less likely to feel like they're going to insert themselves in conversations.
Mhm. That's purposeful in terms over time. What do you think that will do to the culture in your chorus?
I mean, I have to say we have a great culture in general, but I do notice a few of those people. And now when thinking about those people that have left, one of them in particular, I'm wondering, well, I wonder if we had reached out more just in the social settings, you know, beginning of rehearsal, at the end, you know, at other events, if that would have made a difference. I mean, we're never going to know, but I think we could I know I could personally make a better effort at that.
Excellent. Thank you. Sid.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there's a lot of things to do right as a leader. And sometimes you, well, at least I do, that you don't have time to do all of them. Certainly I'm not the best greeter because I'm busy setting up the air filter or, you know, something, but making sure that your other leaders are taking care of things that you're not taking care of. I know our membership people are awesome and do a lot of things that I probably should be doing, but at least that somebody's doing it, and I'm making sure that somebody's doing it.
You know, Sid, that addresses two things. One is that you're sensitive to what needs to happen in terms of greeting people. Number two, you have said to someone else in the chorus, I trust you to do this job. You're important, and this is an important job. So now you've got a wider net of people who now are experiencing some positive feelings. Good. Thanks, Sid. Sandy.
So one of the things that sort of hit me here, we are rehearsing not quite as long as we used to, which means we've really eliminated social time in our rehearsals because we're putting the emphasis on the music. And as a membership coordinator, we've had some new members, and I've made it a point to take those new members out for coffee some other time just to get to know them. But I need to do that with all of our members and just catch up because I really don't have the time to speak with everyone personally in a rehearsal setting. So I need to find ways to meet with them outside and just make sure things are going well.
That's such a great idea. Have you given some thought to the possibility that you might even ask people to find a buddy in the chorus and that the buddies are to talk sometime during the week?
During virtual rehearsals, we actually did create that program, but it's gone by the wayside now that we're meeting in person again. So it might be time to reinstate that.
Yeah, or you might have a small team of people that can reach out. Just like with Sid, you know, that when you can reach out and give people assignments to do, they're important assignments and you trust them to do it. And there is residual benefit of involving more people. So we don't always have to do everything ourselves, but that delegating piece has real value. Yeah, it's great. Good suggestion. Others?
So Deborah.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi. You had mentioned an exiting members, or maybe that's how I interpreted it, but as people exit from Sweet Adelines, somehow you have an interaction with them. We've been toying with having an exit survey ourselves, not only for our members who may leave, but for prospective members who don't feel that it's the right match. I just wondered if other people have done that and if there's a resource out there to tap into for that kind of a survey.
Does anybody here do that? I can certainly share with you the survey that we do when people leave. And that might give you some clues about some of the types of questions. Sharon, would you like me to forward that to you and you can share that?
Yes, go ahead and do that. Plus, I have some information too, so I could send it all out together.
Okay, that would be great. I also think it's worth thinking about surveys that are done formally or informally. So sometimes with some people, and especially if you believe that talking is their mode of communication as opposed to writing, an invitation for a telephone call. When we survey people on the international committee, we certainly do a written survey just because of sheer volume, but we also extend an invitation for a personal conversation. And I need to tell you some of the sad stories that I've heard that would have been very avoidable had people thought. Yeah, I'll send that, Sharon, to you, and if you can send that out, I'd appreciate that. Beth Ann.
When you get feedback from departing members, do you let the choruses know that you've gotten that information, or what do you do with it?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends entirely on the set of circumstances. We never share information about individuals unless they have asked us specifically to do so. Everything is ultimately confidential. And so even the results that we see from our surveys are very generic. They don't go back to choruses. They have no names. They have no chorus information. And it's because it's not very useful. It's not very helpful. It sets up the wrong environment. Rather, we try to incorporate what we've learned from those into these kinds of presentations. And what we know is small things count. They really do. Yeah. Even when you don't even know about them.
So Deborah, within your chorus, do you do exit surveys?
They are informal to the extent that my chorus does them. They are with telephone conversations. And so that kind of information then helps to formulate some change of action. Over time, what it has done is really helped us focus on our culture and being super attentive and protective and guarding that culture that we've worked so hard to develop. We're attentive to it all the time.
So do you share it with your team then, or?
I don't anymore because I'm not on the I'm not on the leadership team. Okay. So I don't anymore. Denise.
Yeah, I wonder if anybody has any suggestions. We lost under a handful of members on Zoom because it just wasn't right for them. They couldn't feel all of the things that you've discussed on Zoom, the camaraderie, they couldn't keep up, they couldn't handle the personal singing. And now that we're going back to in-person rehearsals, it's like, well, I don't want to sing in a mask. I don't want. So does anybody have any suggestions? We're trying to hang on to them. We're trying to pull them back in, but we're struggling with how to get them to come back now. Does anybody have any suggestions?
In addition to that, we've been live in masks inside, and we've suddenly gone back to Zoom because COVID numbers are so extraordinarily high. And that, I think, if we have to continue, that is going to have an impact on people.
Yeah,
it is.
One thing that both of my choruses have done is form small groups and invite them to come in person in small groups.
Mhm.
That keeps them engaged. It certainly kept me engaged when we were doing Zooming.
With no other comments, I would encourage you to think about the messaging that you give to people when they make the choice to disengage from Zoom for right now, or to disengage right now from active singing because I have to be in a mask. You might think about an associate program where people can still stay connected. They get the communications. They're always invited to come, but they're not expected to attend. They're still hooked in. They still belong. You were right. Keeping them tethered is really important. And that's why periodically having some social events that enables that extended kind of tethered family to come and engage becomes so important. That tethering is crucial. Good observation.
Yeah, we've done all those things. We've done
Good.
social events, and they're included in our newsletters and everything else. So I guess it's just writing out the time to, make things pass by and just try to keep that door open. The other thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if it'd be helpful to anybody, but something I experienced with the chorus I was president with on the East Coast before I moved to the West Coast. And there was quite a bit of negativity, and some of it came from our leadership team. And I had to try to figure out a way to get rid of it before rehearsal. So what I did is I created a really pretty basket, and I sat it on a chair at the door to the rehearsal room. And I had a pad and a pen, and everybody was instructed to leave their negativity in the basket before they entered the rehearsal room, because no negativity was allowed. And they could either physically write it or just go through the motion. And boy, what a difference that made.
Oh, so clever. So
just a thought.
Very clever. Very good. That's great. Well, I can see we're just about out of time, and yet I sense that there probably are still one or two more comments.
I was thinking on Denise's idea of flip-flopping that and making a gratitude basket. What are the things you're grateful for when you walk into this course? And sharing that.
Yeah. Another great idea. Well, I hope today you've had an opportunity to just mostly reflect. I've given you a few suggestions and a few things to think about, but ultimately it is each chorus leader's responsibility to think through the unique needs of the chorus that you're in and your chorus members. I just can't tell you how important the role you have is with your members. And I love this quote. It says, the most important thing in good leadership is just truly caring. Take care of your family. And when you think of them that way, many things will come naturally to you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah. That was great.
Good. I'm glad that was
for all
helpful.
of us to give our input and talk about these different things. That's awesome. So thank you again for doing that. And thanks to Cindy for setting up the Zoom meeting for us. Does anyone have any other comments that they'd like to share before we close?
I have just one last thought that came to me as we were just finishing up. I've been probably just like all of you, feeling a little dismayed is a very understated way to describe it, just about the way COVID has affected everything. It's just been really a heavy burden, and we've lost numbers. Some people, anyway, some people will come back, but we have recently found a rehearsal home. We've been kind of floating around for almost 2.5 years. And we have a rehearsal home that's in a church, and they welcome us. And we're so excited about being there. And just like that, the whole spirit of our chorus is better. Because we have a place where we're welcome and we belong and we have space and we can, it's just lovely. And so I hope everybody has a real rehearsal home, because I think that makes a lot of difference in the spirit of things. So there's my thought.
Cindy, you just gave me goosebumps. You gave me goosebumps. It is the simple things that make so much difference. And it's that creation of home. It's that creation of family. It's that creation of I belong.
Also, I want to say that if you have members because of Zoom that don't want to participate and they're thinking of leaving Sweet Adelines, encourage them to become chapter at large members. At least they're staying connected. They still get the pitch pipe. They're still getting all the news. They get our e-blasts and our newsletters and emails and all of that. So it's really encouraging for them to, if they can stay chapter at large, and then they may come back after this is all over, if it gets over. It would be so nice to be able to go back to whatever normal is. But for right now, I know we're all struggling. It's hard.
We continue to Zoom our rehearsals for any members that aren't comfortable still yet coming. So there's always a Zoom rehearsal going on for whatever reason, but we did that too for safety. So if anybody has the sniffles or anything, just don't come to rehearsal, but you can Zoom in and still be a part of it. And it's funny because we have this little Zoom group of chorus members, and they're all communicating themselves on Zoom while we're rehearsing. So it's kind of an interesting way to keep everybody engaged still.
But they're still staying connected, so that's great. Well, if no one else has any more comments, I appreciate all of you being here this morning. Hope you have a good weekend. And if you ever have any questions or anything, you can always email me and I'll get you the answer. Or if I can't answer it, I'll find somebody who can. I'm always available.
Thanks for all you do, Sharon.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you.
And Beth, I just got to know, can you hear?
Oh, good. Well, it was recorded. So if you have people in your course that want to listen to it, it might be a good thing for all members to listen to. Oh, just pass that on. And I will send out the link for the recording as soon as Cindy sends it to me. So have a good day. Thank you all. It's great to see your faces. Take care. Keep on singing.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.